Hello and welcome to this episode of our Tech Impact podcast series, where today we'll be discussing the impact COVID-19 has had on the tech industry. I'm your host, Max Pollington, digital content lead here at the marketing department in Ingram Micro UK. And today I'm joined by our Director of Specialty Solutions, Raaj Pandya, our Commercial Director, Mike Farah, and our Director of Cloud, UCC and Cyber, Scott Murphy. Hello, gentlemen. I hope you're all well.
Morning.
Well, thank you, Max.
Excellent. Now, as of this recording, any Ingram Micro employees that can work from home have been for over 3 weeks now. So to start us off, could you tell me how Ingram Micro has been tackling the challenge of having staff work from home? Raj, let's start with you.
Yeah, so to be fair, Max, we obviously followed the government guideline to the letter of the law. So the minute the initial lockdown was announced that towards the end of March, we'd already as a team been gearing up probably around 2 weeks prior to that to ensure the IT systems that we have, the people that needed the right tools, they were all made available pretty quickly. And then between the teams, particularly with the IS teams, we rolled out all of the mobile communication platforms that we needed to across all of our divisions pretty quickly. So I would probably say within the following day, we had 99% of our workforce already mobile and working from home.
Brilliant. That's really quick, actually. That's amazing. So would you say, sorry, computer having a bit of trouble there. Would you say that Ingram Micro was prepared for managing that sort of demand?
Yes, I would. I think as a team, certainly as a leadership team, we had been looking at the impact of the virus across all of our regions, to be fair, because obviously we're a global organization, so we could see what was happening in other countries. So as a leadership team, we'd been talking and putting plans in place for all of our facilities in the UK, I'd say at least 3 weeks prior to lockdown.
Wow. Scott, how have you found things in the cloud department?
Yeah, pretty good. And just to add to what your question then to Raj, we as a management team have been talking about remote working and home working for quite a while as well, pre-COVID. So, it's something that we've been exploring. It wasn't like a surprise for us to execute home working, other than the things that Raj touched on. So I think we was kind of prepared already as well. In my area, probably from a home working point of view, I've probably got the biggest mix of people that already work from home. So there was an easy shift for people to be on lockdown, just meant they weren't travelling to customers. But then we followed suit with the rest of the organisation as the management team. We started to phase in that people working from home to test the systems, make sure that technology things like VPNs and those kind of things worked. But generally, it was a pretty smooth process. I think the challenge we've got now is just that balance between helping our associates be productive, but also ensuring that our associates are their well-being in isolation mood is positive. So
yeah. So in a sense, is there still a sort of attitude of business as usual, really?
Oh, massively. Yeah. No, it's most people are actually probably busier than they were because you're not traveling, so you kind of sat in front of the laptop all day, and you're proactively driving to fill your diary because you've not got any external noise. What I'm finding as well is that throughout the team we've got much more non-work related touch points going on. So because we don't have that kind of social interaction in an office, we've kind of forced, whether it's coffee breaks, meditation breaks, there's a beer of a clock on a Friday, and all these different things, PT sessions, and all non-work related things. And actually, I've spoken to, again, because probably half of my team is remote in the first place, I've probably spoken to more people in the team on a kind of regular basis than I would do if they and I was in the office.
So even though there's that physical distance, we still actually have an awful lot of communication, so we still actually feel connected as a team.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But as I said, more so in a way, because, if a team's having a daily huddle, if that would have happened in Milton Keynes, now it's happening on Teams, and you know, and I'll just randomly jump into some of them just to touch base and see how people are and stuff. So whereas if it was in Milton Keynes and I wasn't in the office that day, or if remote workers weren't in the office that day, they wouldn't be part of that huddle. So yeah, I'm actually finding it to the benefit.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
Yeah, I would say that people are probably, I wouldn't say over communicating, but definitely increasing the communication levels within the teams, within individuals. And I think it's important for managers also to change their management style and to be more empathetic to the individual, to understand what they're going through, because a lot of people won't have worked at home before, won't understand, you know, some of the different pressures that you have from working from home. And even if you have worked from home before on a regular basis, you probably haven't done it with, you know, all of your family present 5 days a week and your children being homeschooled as well. So there are different pressures for home working at the moment as opposed to normal home working.
Yes, yeah, lots of additional challenges. I've also a lot of employees having to become teachers as well as babysitters, and
Absolutely.
I myself have a 7-month pregnant wife that I've been trying to keep happy this whole time. So we're all experiencing it in different ways. So actually, Mike, to follow on from that, how would you find how would you say that the Ingram Micro processes are being maintained?
I'd say 100%. You know, we're trying to be nimble and agile to support our customer base. But that doesn't mean cutting corners. So, you know, as a large organization, a large corporate organization, you know, we have robust procedures in place that we have to follow, and we haven't veered from those. But I guess what we're trying to be to our own associates, to our customers, to our suppliers, is to be human and understanding of the situation that everyone is going through, and to be as flexible as possible where flexibility is allowed.
Of course. Well, and moving on from that vein, how would you say Ingram Micro has been providing the tech to key essential workers in the recent past?
It's a good question, and I know, you know, you see a lot of I say publicity around, you know, companies, you know, who have been providing key IT equipment to NHS, you know, to other key workers, blue light associations, and we've been involved in that as well. We probably don't sing and shout about it as much as maybe other companies do, and you know, I look at that because actually, you know what, you know, you spoke about business as usual, and Scott spoke about business as usual as well. And actually, you know what, that is what we do on a regular day-to-day basis, is providing, you know, key IT equipment and services to end users, you know, across the UK and beyond, in all walks of life. And you know, NHS and key workers absolutely come into that as well. And you know, we are, you know, part of the supply chain that makes sure that those operations, you know, can continue and continue to thrive and do the good work that they're doing. And it's like, you know, I guess we don't want to put ourselves up as the heroes in this situation at all, because the heroes are the people that we clap on a Thursday night, and the heroes are the people who are working in the supermarkets, you know, the bus drivers, the people working in care homes, you know. So, you know, we're doing good work, and we're supporting, you know, the Nightingale hospitals and other hospitals that are, you know, are popping up as well, and making sure that, you know, we're trying to do our bit in the whole battle against the crisis. But, you know, I wouldn't classify us as the heroes in the situation.
Raj,
yeah,
Scott?
definitely. I think
it's also worth mentioning that obviously we know that technology is currently driving some of the you know, the hospitals and the medical elements that absolutely should be at the forefront of everything we think about. But we're also providing technology in different areas where, you know, the COVID-19 has challenged them in different ways. So, you know, a prime example would be, you know, the economy is heavily driven by education and retail. And taking retail as an example, with all storefronts now practically closed, a lot of these guys have had to put a lot of infrastructure behind their home deliveries and click and collects. And as you know, as I think Mike pointed out, again, you know, we don't want to be at the forefront of being the heroes here, but we are, you know, heavily involved in that supply chain of providing that technology through various partners to ensure that, again, you know, vulnerable people are getting their shopping on time, you know, and people can still order those essential items that they need without leaving their homes, And it's the technology that Ingram provide through our suppliers and partners and our customers that's driving that.
Yeah, providing the tools necessary for everyone to do what they need to do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just to pick up on what Mike and Raj were saying, 100% agree with everything that they said. But whether it was COVID or whether it's something else, that's what we do, right? We're enablers, right? And we're enabling, whether it's supply chain, whether it's technology. We've had examples where partners have been trying to stand up, Windows Virtual Desktop solutions, for example, and we've enabled them to do that faster than they could on their own. But again, if it wasn't COVID, we'd enable partners to do that as well. So I think certainly what I found, and Mike mentioned, Nightingale and those kind of projects is, we're a trusted, safe pair of hands as a kind of value-added distributor. So vendors and partners are coming to us with these very short timescales, and we're doing our thing, which is, we're trying to make sure that we can get as much inventory as possible on the lines of the project, making sure that we can get it shipped out the door on time. We can send engineers if needed, so all of those things. But again, I wouldn't say that was anything special for us, to Mike's point. It's just what we do, enabling those people. Yes, we might, do a little bit of extra hours to make sure it's done that day, or as opposed to moving to the next working day and those kind of things. But generally, it's just kind of business as usual. Without underplaying it, it is just business as usual. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah, and that's not to undermine the efforts of our staff who are, absolutely driving the business through these difficult times as well. And as Scott said there, people are working extra hours, because the demand that's built up over the last 6 weeks, but also because, they're working from home and their work patterns change as well. So, people are, absolutely putting the effort in there as well from the work from home environment. But then if you look at our operations division as well, from a warehousing perspective, those guys, are in, we're 100% operational. We put measures in place around social distancing, and obviously, safety measures in terms of, extra cleaning, et cetera, in the warehouse. But, we're fully operational, and those guys are doing a fantastic job during this period of increased demand to make sure that we are supplying the equipment that is necessary to keep businesses going.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Mike. Actually, massive call out to all of our associates, and the warehouse, in particular, because we nobody has faltered. Everybody's, even though I'm conscious of me and Mike are kind of sounding like we're underplaying it a little bit, in terms of it's what we do and it's business as usual. Mike's absolutely right. It's business as usual in terms of what we're doing, but the volume that we're doing it at is significantly higher, and every single associate, is feeling that stress. So, part of our job is to help them. We're working together as a management team to move people between functions quite dynamically and flexibly, so we can try and where the workload peaks, so we can try and make sure that we're not overburdening, certain individuals. So.
Absolutely. Well, and because we have these different environments, that's actually perfectly leads on to my next question. So, be it from staff working from home or from actually working in the warehouse, could you talk a little bit about what tech is really making a difference at the moment? Software or hardware, or a combination of the two?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, sorry, go on, Rod. You go.
I think it's a combination of pretty much everything from hardware, software, services, all aspects of technology are driving it. Of course, there are fundamental pieces of technology that drive a large proportion of communication, which is really key here. So, in some of the areas that Mike leads, the PCs, the peripherals, the printers, absolutely is key in terms of, the technology that's needed to drive, our attack in trying to eradicate this COVID-19 virus. But at the other hand, all of our other divisions are playing a big part as well. So within speciality, we have, the barcoding, the auto ID world, the carts that the medical hospitals need to move the technology around. And of course, one of the big players is unified communications under Scott's leadership, where communication is the key driver in everything that we're trying to do, because we're all remote. The country's remote. We need to stay in touch to be able to do things. And that technology at the moment is pivotal in terms of, Microsoft Teams, the software's driving all the hardware, and then the communication platforms that we all are using now and will continue to use during this period continues to drive what everybody needs, whether you're in critical care work or whether you're in the retail environment, or even if you're just organizational associates that are communicating day to day. So I would say fundamentally, a large proportion of all of our key technology areas are heavily involved in the current climate.
Yeah, and I think Raj touched on there. If you look at what technology we're using internally, it's much of the same technology. That obviously we had to get laptops and some other things for people that work from home and adapt. But Raj mentioned Microsoft Teams is obviously the communication platform we use, and I think like everybody, the consumption and the usage of that platform has massively increased. Look at us doing this podcast today on Teams, and what the feedback I get from my sales reps is the guys and girls that are on the phone in the office, phoning customers and speaking to customers on a daily basis, are saying, even though they're doing the same, they're now doing it via a video call. Now, they wouldn't physically be going to see the customer if they weren't working from home, but it is changing their behaviour in work because everybody's doing it, kind of thing, and for the better. So they're now doing video calls with customers, and they're saying, when we get back in the office, we'll continue to do that. And I think, and I know we'll talk about kind of what may come, but I think that will further fuel the technology we're providing, kind of post-COVID, as the lockdown starts to relax, etc., because people's working styles have just changed. Simple as that. So.
Yeah, I also think we've probably just seen the first wave of moving to home working, and people go, okay, what do I need to homework? I need a laptop. That's my most essential thing that I need. But actually, probably 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in, people start to think, oh, do you know what? If I have those two screens that I have in the office, then maybe I'll be a bit more efficient or productive in terms of what I do. If I had a better headset, I'd have more clearer communication, right down to the fact that, if people are going to continue homework in the future, it's like, well, do I need a better desk? Do I need a better chair? Even going as far as, do I have a home office built in the garden that's going to be bespoke to what I need? And you don't know where that's going to end from a home working perspective. You can look at it from a print perspective as well. I'll hold my hand up and say, over the last 3-4 years, I've had a printer on a subscription model from a very large vendor, and I've probably been one of their best customers in the fact that I've probably not printed anything in that 3-year period, but I still pay my subscription every month. But I'm starting to try and get my money's worth at the moment, with my son being home from school and he's printing off his school projects and his schoolwork every day. So you're kind of changing behaviours and almost going back to in a way how we were 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago in terms of print capacity at home.
And there is that discussion, isn't there, that's happening about the sort of impact on office space or entire departments, whether or not people can be more flexible with working from home more days a week, or people shifting entirely to working from home. So those are sort of interesting potential outcomes from all this. So talking from an Ingram Micro perspective, a bit more internally, what have been the major challenges to our business in the last few weeks? Raj?
I think. I'll go on, Raj.
So I think I wouldn't say there's been significant challenges in across our business. I think what we've been very, very good at is being able to adapt to any challenge that comes our way. A lot of the challenges, I think, I wouldn't class them as challenges, but I think we have a duty of care to make sure that all of our exceptional associates that are working round the clock, we're keeping and ensuring that it's a business as usual mentality, but also making sure that their welfare and their well-being, to ensuring that we're keeping in touch to make sure that it's not just a business as usual conversation. So that's not a challenge for us, but it's a different way of leadership that some of us will be used to. And I think on the other side, I often call Ingram Micro the silent partner. A lot of things happen in the background that people should never know it's Ingram Micro. But one of our key focuses is supporting our partners and our vendor partners in making sure that the challenges they both face, we're able to contribute to make their challenge less problematic for them. So that could be anything from, financial terms, credit terms, supply schedules, managing inbound and outbound deliveries. So, those things in our normal life, we wouldn't class as a challenge because that's what we do. But in the current environment, there are so many different restrictions that we've got to look at in terms of safely delivering to customer sites, making sure that our associates are absolutely looking after themselves as well as the Ingram Micro business. So they are immediate challenges that we don't think are challenges really. I think it's just a different way of leading business at the moment. It's doing different things and adapting to the current environment and the climate. So I think overall Ingram Micro and our associates have been exceptional in the challenges we've had, because sometimes people think remote working and home working is really, really good, and it can be, but often it can also provide its own challenges. So as an organization, we've made sure that we can cater for both, the ability to remote work, but also to make sure that the individuals that are and our associates are fully looked after as they do so. So they are some of the challenges that won't go away. They're just going to continue to evolve. And I think, testament to Ingram Micro has been how we've adapted to it and how we've quickly implemented things without any pain to the business to make sure that we carry on providing our value-added services to our partners and our associates.
I think to add to that, Max, as well, when you look at it from an industry stroke business channel perspective, I guess one of the main pressure points over the last few weeks, and it's probably, goes back to the start of the year really, is around inventory and getting enough supply of inventory. There was already challenges, before the start of the year in terms of supply chain, particularly around devices and server, around chip shortages. So you had that challenge around, can you get enough supply of those key items in a normal environment? Then you roll into January where the COVID-19 crisis starts in China, which is obviously key to global supply chains and manufacturing plants. Couple that with the break for Chinese New Year, there was significant disruption to production during that January timeframe. So, we were already in a relatively tight stock situation come January, February, and into March. And then, you roll into March where, the COVID-19 situation starts hitting in the UK with the increased demand for homework and equipment during that period of time, in a month which is already traditionally the biggest month of the year in the IT channel. So it was kind of like the perfect mix of problems around inventory. So I think we did a really, really good job in trying to secure as much inventory as we possibly could. As Raj said, they're working really hard with the manufacturers to make sure everything was seamless, and that we were trying to get product into our warehouse as quickly as possible, but also B, spinning it around and turning it around and making sure we were shipping it out to our customers in the most timely fashion as well. So there were definitely supply chain challenges during that period of time. They're starting to ease up a little bit now, which is really good news for us and all of our partners as well. But you then kind of roll into some different challenges during that period as well, around, as Raj alluded to, potential increase in business means a potential increase in demand for credit from certain partners there as well. So we've really tried to take a human view on things as well, because we've really got to try and keep business moving during this difficult period of time. So we really encourage our customers to actually talk to us more. So we don't want to hide behind email or direct people via email boxes. We're absolutely 100% open for business, and we really want to talk to our partners about the challenges that they're facing today and how we can help them get through those challenges as well. And as I say, I keep echoing stay human, because no one's perfect in this situation, and things are going to go wrong. That they're going to be challenges to everyone's business, and we want to really be able to help where we can, whether that's with credit limits, whether that's, you know, in terms of our logistics operation, you know, we've started waiving fees for failed deliveries, where, you know, I think some other distributors have actually trebled the cost for failed deliveries. So, you know, we understand that things are going to go wrong, and people are having difficulty in terms of accessing their own business, never mind accessing end user sites to be able to take deliveries. So, you know, there's a big challenge going on, you know, in the world, and we want to make sure that we stay as human and as grounded as possible to be able to help people out through this situation.
Of course. Brilliant. So what sort of services, and maybe less of the hardware, but more of the sort of the digital aspect, what sort of services can Ingram Micro sort of consistently provide during lockdown? Let's start with you, Scott.
In terms of services to clients, as opposed to internal
customers and everyone, yeah.
Well, interesting, you know, as Mike just touched on there, in terms of PCs and laptops, etc. You know, clearly in UCC we've seen an explosion in terms of headsets and webcams and those kind of things, right? So that's still hardware, but then, you know, in order to use and power those tools, you need access to platforms. You know, we touched on Microsoft Teams earlier. You know, we're seeing you know, growth in, you know, people looking at that. The flip side, we're also seeing, you know, there's organisations that are selling into retail and hospitality and all those industries that Raj mentioned that are having some challenges. And, you know, Microsoft and like other vendors have brought out a lot of free trials and those kind of things. So we're trying to, that's a difficult thing for us to manage, because, you know, we've still got the same amount of workload around it, but it's a zero value product that's being sold, right? So, you know, that represents its own challenges in terms of trying to do the right thing and support customers, which we're still doing, but it's no money. So yeah, you know, software and cloud is plays a key role, really, because obviously, you know, everything doesn't work without it. And coming out the back of it, I think it's a lot more around, you know, driving adoption services, which we can help with. We're doing a lot of that remotely using our services business through Comscare, you know, and actually helping people understand the tools that they've got and how to use them, because it's like I touched on before, you know, unless you're using Teams day in, day out, you don't know half the features, you don't know how to do something. And some of it is just a little bit of practice around etiquette, and, you know, and just kind of what button to click when and how to be on mute at the right time. So software, and, you know, whether that be platform point of view, or when you look at cybersecurity, again, that's become a really big topic. You know, certain platform vendors are out in the market. You see it in the news and BBC and Sky, where, you know, they've had a kind of a crazy amount of growth year on year in terms of number of users on the platforms. But then there's questions about, is the platform secure and those kind of things. So, you know, security is front and center, and we're seeing a lot of things around that as well. So yeah, so it's just in my space, there's an explosion of, you know, demand in terms of in the short term, but kind of moving through. I think, you know, I use the expression the new norm. You know, and kind of we're in the new norm. But I don't. My personal view is that it won't swing all the way back, and I think, you know, that's kind of Mike and Raj have kind of touched on, alluded to the same. But it's what I don't know, and nobody knows, is how far it will or won't go back. You know, you touched on offices before. I know of several businesses that are, you know, kind of small, medium-sized businesses that are saying, well, actually, why are we paying for an office? Because we're not sure we need one anymore. And, you know, there's a lot. You know, I think enterprise business, etc. There's a balance, but there's a lot of businesses that are, you know, it's probably more around, you know, meeting spaces and huddle spaces as opposed to, you know, having actual offices and stuff. So yeah, it's really interesting time, actually, and you know, technology is definitely kind of coming to the fore.
I think a couple of other points to add to that as well, Max. You know, I think what's going to be key moving forward, you see the explosion around home working, and I think, you know, there was always some sort of barrier there to prevent people from home working, and kind of this situation has kind of absolutely exploded the barrier. Now, you know, everyone has, or a lot of people have, the ability to work from home, you know, and I think that will be the same, you know, for financial solutions moving forward as well, in terms of the as a service business model, you know, and I think, you know, it's been growing momentum over the last 2, 3, 4 years. but I think it takes something like this in terms of the impact on the economy and the ability to do capital expenditure, you know, and the availability of you know, liquid cash in people's companies will drive people to adopting technology in a different format and consuming technology in a different format via financial solutions. And then to add to that as well, you know, the continuing need for people to work from home means that, you know, we need to deploy machines, be that, you know, notebooks, etc., to end users, but those machines need to be fully configured as well. So we're utilizing our configuration services within our own operations and logistics facility to be able to do that on behalf of our reseller partners for end users, but also, you know, taking advantage of some of the vendors schemes such as Apple on DEP and the Microsoft scheme in terms of, you know, auto enrollment and auto configuration of devices as well.
I think, Max, also just to add some of the things that are non-tangible that we're doing as an organisation is we're working quite closely with our partners to offer, you know, there's a lot of, you know, our partners, reseller sales executives are all now obviously remotely working, but one of the key drivers in our market is education and learning. So, you know, we're working closely with our vendor partners to provide webinars around technology, you know, particularly looking at new technology coming out, you know, keeping that education and the conversation going to make sure that, you know, as we get through this crisis, you know, technology is one of the fastest and evolving markets that the economy has. So we are providing as an organization in support from our partners to make sure education across our reseller partners continues. So, you know, training on different aspects. You know, we're doing webinars around, you know, things like how you can use Teams better or how you maximize your unified communications technology. So, you know, those things, again, show some of the value that we continue to provide in the business as usual mentality, obviously doing it in a different way. So, you know, in terms of the digital services, we continue to try and pioneer with some of those aspects. And along the way, we're also talking to customers. You know, one of the most important things currently for our partners is how they continue to communicate technology evolution to their end clients. You know, and normally you'd be doing that proactively, but again, we're looking at campaigns of how we do that in the current climate, how we collaborate across all Ingram Micro divisions. You know, as we've just discussed, you know, financial solutions, you know, as we come out of this, the economy is going to be challenged. There's no doubt about it. You know, we're all going to have to do something very different to kickstart that economy back because, you know, people are going to be hesitant to buy houses. People are going to have less disposable income to begin with. So communicating a message now around what technology should be at the forefront of people's procurement is a real challenging environment for Ingram Micro and for our customers. So we're working quite closely with them to provide them different type of messaging platforms, different type of campaigns that they can use, you know, as we ease back into work over the coming months around how technology is going to play a different part. So I think that's really important to get across.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just Matt, sorry, just to say, just to kind of wrap that together, I think, you know, a very important point, you know, for years and years, distribution and Ingram included, you know, we've you know, sold in isolation, right? So we've sold PCs, we've sold laptops, we've sold devices, we've sold, you know, financial packages on top, etc. And what we're certainly seeing now, you know, we've been I think leading by example in some ways, you know, whether it's projects like device as a service that you know Mike's been driving in terms of that as a service from a device point of view, whether it's, you know, bundling in that pre-configuration and on-site configuration of tools, you know, leveraging the cloud. You know, we've got turnkey bundles for voice that include hardware, software, and services. And I think what's really key, if you look at the power of Ingram Micro in terms of, you know, the divisions that we have from you know, all the way from services and all of the capability we've got with, you know, 200 plus engineers and all these kind of things, financial solutions, and then we're working much more collaboratively across the technology stacks. So we're not just selling the technology in isolation, we're actually selling solutions that address customer problems as opposed to fulfilling products. And we're finding, I'm certainly finding more and more now, people are coming to us. I've got a problem because I need to enable remote access. People working from home. It's not people coming to us saying, "Can I buy 100 laptops?" All right, yeah, there you go. So we're actually having to then build a solution for that customer with the partner rather than just and that that's absolutely in our sweet spot. So I think that'll help.
Absolutely, and actually, I think you've covered what was going to be my next question really well there, everyone. I was because we were talking about impact and sort of moving forward, and I was just going to sort of ask you, and maybe we'll keep this one a bit short because you've done such a good job already. But do you see the tech landscape changing a lot post lockdown, and if so, by sort of what degree or in what sort of way in different areas? Mike?
I don't.
Sorry.
Sorry, I know you said Mike. I don't. I started, so I finish, as they say. I don't personally. I think it might change within the tech stack, and to explain what I mean by that, I think if people aren't going to use offices as much, then actually and they're going to work from home, then video devices may change in terms of what the type of device they buy or the size. So it might be that they buy much more huddle space video conferencing rather than large conference room video conferencing, just as one example. But I think in general, all the technology we sell is just it's just being packaged in a different way in terms of those bundles. So sorry, Mike, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about Ingram's position in the channel in terms of technology and technologies as a channel, we will still be a pivotal part of the channel, and I'll probably say even more so because I think during this period of time that we've demonstrated and we've shown that we are nimble, agile, and more flexible than the vendor direct model. So if anything, I think it's kind of played to the strengths of Ingram Micro in terms of us being able to, as Scott said there, in terms of the provision of overall umbrella services and a value proposition, demonstrate that to our reseller partners and to the end user community as well. So, I think this will strengthen the bonds that we have with partners, and we'll do that by helping them through the crisis. And helping them, build their business, rebuild their business, however you look at it, but also allowing them to take advantage of the solutions that we offer to strengthen the propositions moving forward.
Raj, anything to add? Or
yeah, I think the only thing I would add, I think the landscape of technology and its usage will stay the same, as I think Scott said. But I think what's going to change now is, nobody would ever have planned around this pandemic. Businesses would have assumed things would remain as normal. But as we've seen, businesses have been heavily impacted around a situation that I always say I've never seen in my lifetime. I'm probably never going to see in my lifetime again. But future generations will now be talking about this with their parents, their grandparents. And as they move into the working space, I think technology and the way they view it is going to be different. So I think as we come back into normality, what's going to happen is there's going to be a huge amount more contingency planning from IT departments around future-proof technology. So, I use the example that I think I was talking to somebody yesterday around, Primark is a prime example of as an organization that didn't believe in online platform. And Primark, they're absolutely at this point in time over with a stack full of over inventory, nowhere to sell. So I think what you're going to see is a lot of businesses now saying, okay, if this ever happens again, we've got to be future proof. And I think technology will be the key landscape and driver around making sure they've got a network that is powerful enough to cope. I think looking at, for example, PCs now, I think Scott was saying, they may change in terms of the size of the screen that people now buy. And I think what you'll see a lot more of now is people also investing up front. UK is always hesitant in future-proof technology. It likes to buy what it's used to using. you know, but you can see, the fact that lockdown has affected every individual means, streaming services are now, at maximum capacity. Broadband and internet is at maximum capacity. So what you're now going to see is people buying technology to be able to drive the usage of internet even more and more. So my view over the next 3 months to 6 months is, the technology in the IT channel will get back to normal, not a problem. But I think the way that organizations start to look at what they're going to invest in will change, because I think they're going to start investing in things that are at the higher end of the technology platforms. So I think more and more organizations will quickly adopt cloud if they haven't already, because that is the easiest way to ensure that data is available wherever you are in the world. So I think it's, when we come out of this current, crisis, as I always put it, I think the opportunity that the IT channel will have will be different, but it will be a positive one.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, I think, if you look at the immediate work from home motion, and then you think about all the things Raj has just spoke about, which effectively is digitization or digital transformation, in terms of some of the kind of industry buzzwords that are out there that people talk about. What this crisis has actually done is pull all of them forward by 6, 12, 24 months. So whereas they were things that people were talking about doing, and it was on the list, on the to-do list, they weren't prioritized, well, all of a sudden they are now prioritized. So I think it's not a change in technology, it's just an acceleration of adoption of that technology.
Yeah. Well, we are living in a landmark moment. I can see people sort of saying, I remember when in 2020 when we all had to work from home. And I think in a lot of good ways, in a positive way, this is going to sort of pull people into the future and adopting a lot more of these new technologies. I think that's all we're going to have time for today. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And thank you, Raj, Mike, and Scott, for your time. Stay tuned, everyone, over the coming weeks and months for more podcasts, and let us know if there are any tech topics that you want us to cover in the future. So stay safe, everyone out there, and look after yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye.